Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to this live stream, Bitcoin and crypto news. Today, I want to talk about a new way to evaluate DeFi projects. I know some of you guys are jumping on the wave, some of you guys are already involved, but I kind of had an epiphany, listened to a few things, and I think I found a new way to evaluate DeFi projects. And I want to hear your opinions on it because I think it's a pretty good one. Right now, there's not a lot of ways to measure what a token, what a crypto, what a project is worth. Honestly, everyone is just guessing. There's really no metric or baseline to evaluate these projects. And I think I have a new way, and I think it's a good one. Also, out of the blue, Peter Schiff starts begging for Bitcoin. Did hell freeze over? Did gold simply go away? It seems like in the impossibility. Like you would not hear him beg for Bitcoin, but he did. So I'm going to talk about that, and of course, talk about whatever else is going on, and have a good Q&A with you guys. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And as always, I have these live streams on Friday, Monday through Thursday, and the weekends I do just regular recorded videos. But my live streams happen on Friday. And why Friday? Because it's looser. You know, most people don't want to work on Fridays, so they tend to join these sessions. So, all right. So that's it. Let's get started. What is going on with Bitcoin? Let's start with that. Bitcoin is doing better today, 11,500. Overall, Bitcoin is just going sideways, right? And that is not a bad thing. In fact, that's actually a pretty good thing. Oh, yeah, I forgot to turn on a light here. Let me turn on a light. All right. And the reason why it's a good thing, and I've been talking about this, I've been talking about with, within my videos, also with my insider group and Patreon members. I've been mentioning this. Look at this. Look at this before, right? When Bitcoin was stuck between 9,000 and 10,000, there was some up and downs, right? We had some up and downs, a few hundred, few thousand point swings, or I shouldn't say few thousand, 1,000 point swing. Some up and downs, but overall, we were going sideways, right? Like a consolidation period. And that is what we're going through right now. You can see this was spanning a few months, and now we're spanning probably a month or so. So we have maybe another few weeks or a few months, but Bitcoin is gearing up. I mean, it's not rocket science right now. I mean, Bitcoin is very, very, very strong. You got Fidelity. My video yesterday was about Fidelity. They're planning a new fund. DeFi continues to go up. And I'm going to talk about that, why that's important to the overall ecosystem. I mean, Tether stablecoins continue to go up. You still have worries about inflation. I'm going to talk about what Chairman Powell said yesterday in terms of inflation. You got a lot of people that is buying Bitcoin as a hedge. You do also have people that's buying Bitcoin as a capital flight mechanism, as we see out of China, which I'm going to get to a little bit too. So, I mean, everything is going for Bitcoin at this point. So, really, for me, I am just not worried. If we fluctuate a little bit, that's perfectly normal. Because what this is showing me is once it is done consolidating around this, let's just say 11,000 to 12,000 mark, it is ready to move higher. And I'm talking about the next jump like this, the next leg up, could push Bitcoin beyond 13,000, possibly to 14,000 or 15,000 before it settles down, probably back down to 14,000 or so forth. But it'll be ready to move and break through a previous high. So that is what's going on with Bitcoin. And I don't recall the last time I was this confident about Bitcoin. It has been a long time, long time. Last 3 years, always worries about the next doomsday drop, some kind of terrific, horrific drop, some kind of corrective drop. Right now, I just don't get that feeling. Now, I may be 100% wrong. We could drop back down to 8,000, let's say, next week. But right now, I just see so many things going for Bitcoin. I just have a really hard time seeing that. There's just too much going for it. And I think right now, for Bitcoin holders, best course of action is just simply buy the dips and hold. That's it. It's just that simple. Now, outside of Bitcoin, we have altcoin projects that are doing relatively well. Most of them are following Bitcoin, following the same footsteps. When Bitcoin goes up, they go up. Bitcoin goes down, they go down. Now, the exception is there are some DeFi projects that are stronger than Bitcoin. But if you look at it from overall perspective, look at BTC dominance, we've been hovering at 50, like this range, high 58s to low 59s for several months now, which shows that basically everything is moving in tandem right now, which is positive. You would like to see both move in tandem. Now, when Bitcoin really starts moving up, like if it's ready to move to the next leg up, and it does, let's say it moves to 15,000 relatively quickly, yeah, BTC dominance will go up. It's going to suck out some of that liquidity. But usually when Bitcoin stops and consolidates, guess what happens? That money flows out, right? But right now it's not super, altcoin season yet. Not the crazy altcoin season we've witnessed back in 2017. Not there yet, but we're kind of seeing it because of DeFi projects. And for a very, very, very long time, I was very negative on DeFi. I'm still cautious about it, but I kind of had a different kind of, I have a different way of thinking about DeFi. That's kind of the whole point of this video. I'm going to share with you guys and share with you guys this new way of evaluating DeFi projects. All right, let's move on. So this article is exactly talking about what I just got done saying. This fractal pattern shows Bitcoin will flatline around 11,000 for 2 weeks. And why? They're looking at the same thing I just showed you guys, except they're looking at this 7, I don't know if this is week pattern, 7 pattern-ish thing. I don't know if it's days or weeks or whatever, but basically what you get is you have Bitcoin that consolidates for a little bit, and then it gets ready to move up, and it does, and then this is what we're saying. It's consolidating, and when it's done consolidating, it's going to go up. Same thing, except this is using some kind of other indicator that's measuring peaks and dips and stuff, but overall, that is what we're seeing right now. Of course, yesterday, if you didn't watch my video, Fidelity Investments planning on launching a brand new dedicated Bitcoin fund. Entirely of Bitcoin, and it's dedicated to institutional investors. You have to have at least $100,000 to be able to participate. So it's definitely for the wealthy. And why are they doing this? Well, they've been involved with crypto already for custody for a while, but I don't really hear anyone utilize Fidelity for custody. That was kind of their first, dipping their toes into crypto, but now they're ready to move forward because their counterpart, Grayscale Investments, which of course in the real world, in the Wall Street world, no one have heard of them before, but in the crypto world, they're like the leader, right? And they've been getting an influx of money, like left and right. Every single quarter, they're getting more and more money, and they're utilizing that to buy Bitcoin. That's why we hear they're buying like tons and tons of Bitcoin. So obviously now Fidelity, they want a piece of that pie. A lot of their customers are already utilizing them for investments. So why not start selling them this Bitcoin fund rather than Bitcoin, because it's much easier to sell, right? And the customer doesn't have to worry about custody or security or anything like that. They just want something that tracks Bitcoin, right? So that's what this is. I think this again is a big thing right now. You may hear the story and you're like, okay, they're going to launch it, but why is Bitcoin not going up? See, these are all the things that's building up to something big. Right now, there's not much FOMO. People that are in Bitcoin, they're excited that we're about 12,000. We could head up to 14,000. But with the general public and institutional investors, what they're looking at is, well, Bitcoin was 20,000 before, right? So are we there yet? No. So they're not excited. But once Bitcoin gets to 20,000 and beyond, it starts moving 25, 30, 50,000, then the narrative changed, right? That Bitcoin had a tremendous recovery, and now who knows where it's going to go. And then the media is going to be talking about it nonstop 24/7. And guess what happens? That's when FOMO builds, right? That's when retail investors, that's when your friends, your family, your grandma calls you about Bitcoin. And that's also when institutional investors, they'll be calling Fidelity left and right saying, what is this Bitcoin thing? Is it too late to get in? Should I get in? See, these are the things that it's going to lead up to something, right? So this bull run, which a lot of people, including myself, think is going to be tremendous, maybe up to $300,000 by the end of 2021 or 2022. Some people are saying it's 2022, but it's going to be massive, and it's because of services and you could call them funds or trusts or futures and all the exchanges and wallets and the infrastructure. I mean, everything, right, is building up right now. Maybe they don't have an immediate effect on Bitcoin, but they could have a huge effect once the next bull run really kicks in and FOMO really builds up, right? So I think this is absolutely huge. Very, very big. All right. What else is there? Let's talk about, before I get to DeFi, what else is there? I talked about at the beginning, capital flight. So Chainalysis, so they looked at it and they recently saw that $50 billion worth of Bitcoin and crypto has flown out of China. $50 billion, right? We have heard Max Kaiser make this argument. We have heard of some other people make this argument. But when you have turmoil in a country and you need to get your money out, you can't do that with gold. Like, if you have a bar of gold, how do you get that out of the country? Like, it's impossible, right? But with Bitcoin, you can. And because of a country like China, which really locks down people's accounts and how much they can withdraw, there's all this strict rules. And it's not just China, other countries too. But even in the US, you want to withdraw $10,000 from your bank, go try it and see what happens. They ask you 100 different questions about why are you withdrawing your money? Like, what business is it of theirs to care if you're withdrawing $10,000? Even deposits and withdrawal. They want to know, right? So with Bitcoin and crypto, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer to anyone. You control your own funds. So as like a capital flight mechanism or tool, Bitcoin could definitely be used for that too. And I think that does help because right now with tensions between US and China, and possibly China with Hong Kong and China with other countries, right? You could see a lot of people utilizing Bitcoin for this reason. And of course, this is also positive. Now, what else is there? Well, Chairman Powell just had a big announcement yesterday. It came and went. Bitcoin jumped up, went down, and now it's back up again. But basically, Chairman Powell is saying that he wants to increase inflation. That his goal of 2% is not high enough. And he wants to move inflation up higher. And people don't know what that means. 2.5%, 3%. But according to him, if you don't have enough inflation, it's bad for the country. He doesn't really explain it well enough, but I guess 2% is the optimal inflation rate per year. So he wants to see inflation go up before raising interest rates, because right now interest rates basically at zero, right? So what this means is there's going to be more money printing and interest rates is going to be kept at zero, which means, the deficit goes up. Short term, people will prosper from this. Wall Street will continue to utilize money to pump up the stock market. Most of us will still get our second round of stimulus checks. There's going to be help that's been being given to small businesses and welfare and everyone else. Yes, so temporarily, this is going to be a good thing. But long term, after this is all done, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out, right? What is this going to lead to? Well, the smartest people on earth are saying this is going to lead to bad things. It's going to lead to very bad things, which is why they're getting their cash out. They don't want to hold fiat anymore. They're getting it out, and they're putting it into hedges against inflation, like gold, silver, and of course, Bitcoin, right? So I think this only helps Bitcoin in the long term. Again, no immediate effect, right? No short-term immediate effect. It's not like Bitcoin pumped up to 20,000 yesterday, but long term, this is going to help Bitcoin. All right, and the last thing about Bitcoin is Peter Schiff, and I mentioned how he's begging for Bitcoin. A lot of people saw this. I just saw this morning. A lot of people saw this and thought his account was hacked. No, it's not. It's because of his son somehow. People picked up that his son actually bought some Bitcoin. So think about that. Think about your dad being the biggest gold bug out there, and somehow you're buying Bitcoin, right? So for whatever reason, Peter thought it was a good idea to ask his audience to send his son, who just turned 18, some Bitcoin. And I guess, people have been sending Bitcoin to him, which is good. And this is confirmed. Spencer Schiff is his son, and he's like, yes, that's my wallet address. So I guess if you want to give him a birthday gift, you could send him Bitcoin. But I just find it really funny that Peter is asking for Bitcoin and asking his audience for Bitcoin to give to his son. So is that hell freeze over? Did gold go away? I don't know. But yeah, I think, a lot of people is suspecting, Max says this, Anthony Pompliano says this, that the higher Bitcoin goes, Peter will eventually cave in. He already said he missed out on his opportunity to become a billionaire because he learned about Bitcoin way, way, way back, and he insisted on buying gold instead of Bitcoin. But going forward, Bitcoin starts reaching new all-time highs, is it just a matter of time before he caves in and buys a lot of Bitcoin with his own money or converts his gold into Bitcoin? Who knows? He certainly has an audience already. I bet 90% of his Twitter audience is Bitcoin guys. So for him to convert to Bitcoin, actually pretty easy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Next, let's move to DeFi. So that's the big thing. Right now, let me refresh this page, because if you refresh this, it keeps going up and up. You could see just 10 minutes ago, it was at 7.38 billion. Now it's at 7.4 billion. All right, so let me share with you why. First of all, because a lot of people keep asking me, why did you change your tune on DeFi? You were so negative about it. Why do you think it's a good thing now? Let me share, first of all, why I think it's good for the whole ecosystem, but there are risks involved, so it doesn't mean that you should go all in or get in at all. Just, let me explain that. And then also, let me share with you this new way evaluating DeFi projects. So number one, if you think about DeFi, it's a decentralized bank. Although it's called DeFi, decentralized finance, but really, the lending companies, what they're acting like is a bank, right? And Bitcoin and crypto is created because of distrust in banks. Banks, central banks, the governments, what they're trying to do with their economic policies and monetary policies and everything else they're doing, right? So Bitcoin was created for that purpose. Right now, it's not filling that purpose. But guess what? DeFi is filling that purpose, right? How do you take money away from the banks? Well, you get people to stop depositing money into them and stop borrowing money from banks. Right now, there are essential stuff. Your mortgage is through a bank, right? Unless you could afford to pay off your house in cash, you rely on the banks for a mortgage. Same thing with car loans. You go through these financial companies, through the manufacturers, or you go through a bank or a credit union, but ultimately it's some kind of bank that's giving you loans, right? If you utilize a credit card company, you're relying on them. Basically, it's an IOU until you pay it back. But these are loans, right? These are part of everyone's lives. So DeFi lending, even though there's risk and it works a little bit differently, but ultimately, number one, I think DeFi is good because it's trying to fill that purpose of getting the power away from the banks, right? Because if people are able to deposit and make interest, which is great, and you're getting a higher interest from the banks, so that gives you incentive to pull your money out of the banks and put it into a DeFi project. That's number one, and some people are utilizing that already. Of course, should you put everything into DeFi? No, there's a lot of risk. I didn't get to that. But number one, yes, that is taking some money away from the banks. Number two is loans, right? And you can get loans. Right now, it's not like how you could get a mortgage, they do a credit check and all that stuff. Although Avi is going that way, non-collateral loans. But yeah, the second thing is loans, and people are starting to utilize that and take out loans against their collateral. Unfortunately, they're only utilizing it to buy more crypto at this point. But again, that's taking power away from the bank. So DeFi overall, someone kind of alluded me to this. Yes, there are benefits, but ultimately what DeFi is trying to do is get the power away from the banks because we don't trust them, right? So if you think about that, it's a very different way of thinking about it, right? And it makes a whole lot of sense. Excuse me. So that's number one. Number two is you think about the total locked-in value, 7.4 billion. That's a lot, right? 7.4 billion out of the entire market cap of 360 billion. What is that? That's about 2%. That's actually a lot if you think about it. 2% of all crypto is locked into DeFi right now. And why is it locked in? Number one, people are collecting interest. Number two, they're taking a loan against that. But think about it, right? When you have this much locked in, it's also curbing volatility and manipulation. Some of you guys have asked me before, how is manipulation ever going to get stopped when there's no regulations, right? And people with money, they can just do whatever they want. Well, my answer was always, you got to have more money. You got to have more money in this space. As the market cap goes up, to manipulate the market, you go need a lot more money to do so. But I didn't think at the time is that if you have projects that lock up crypto, it makes it less volatile overall too, because people aren't trading as much. Especially the people that are just locked in. They're like, I'm done trading. I'm going to put it there because I'm holding anyways, and I'm going to collect interest. They're not doing anything with that crypto. Just like, recently it came out, 64% of Bitcoin wallets haven't been touched for the last 2 years. People are simply holding, right? So another good reason why I think total value locked in, or DeFi project locking in crypto, is it curbs manipulation and volatility slightly. Of course, not completely. We still have that. There's plenty of it, especially with smaller altcoins. But as this moves forward, as this number goes up, and as the overall market cap goes up, I think this also helps with that. So that's another reason why I think DeFi could be really good for the space. Now, as for the risks, there are still plenty of risks, right? So this is not something that I suggest people do, because a lot of people are putting down the collateral and they think the market is so good, it's going to keep going up. They put down their collateral, they take out a loan, and they utilize that loan to buy more crypto. Yes, it works until it doesn't, and then you get liquidated, just like leverage. So I don't suggest that. So there are inherent risks. You don't just get free money by utilizing these companies, right? There is a debt to collateral ratio that you must maintain. If you don't maintain it, you got to put in more collateral or you're going to get liquidated, which a lot of people see all the time. So there are risks. There are also smart contract vulnerability risks involved as well. You have seen companies get hacked through smart contract and get hacked through cheating the system, basically manipulating the price feed, right? And we have seen that as well too. So there are risks. So again, DeFi is still early. I think it's serving a purpose, the original purpose of why Bitcoin is created. And I think it's going to help the entire ecosystem. But with that said, there are still some very, very important or dangerous risks that you need to be aware of before you just jump in. Okay, so that's my spiel about DeFi, why I think it's important, why there are risks. Now let's talk about this new evaluation that I came up with. And I can't take 100% credit because some people have mentioned it already, but I don't hear anyone really pushing this. So if you think about it right now, I posted a question on Twitter, and no one really took it seriously, but let's just pull it up since we have time. All right, so question. How do you value the price of a token or project when they do not make any money? dApps, number of dApps, traction, leadership, or some other metric? So how do people react? Blade Runner, I know you're in this. I look at how long they exist And do they have any use case? Also, I look at their roadmap and what they have already achieved. Current hype projects in DeFi space mostly haven't achieved anything. They will be a pump and dump. Dumb. But see, you're not really answering it though. I know what you're saying, right? You look at how long they've been used, what their use case is, but how do you evaluate, like, okay, how do you evaluate that Ethereum is at 395 and whether or not that's a good value versus Chainlink at 15 versus, I don't know, Binance coin at 23? Like, what metric are you going by? You're just going by length of time, whether they have any traction, maybe leadership, but there's no definitive thing that you could point to why this is worth this, or why this is worth this, or why this is worth this, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. There is no metric right now. People are just guessing because all these companies basically make no money. They make no money at all. With stocks, it's easy. You price it based on their earnings, and there's a PE ratio, so there's a multiplier. But ultimately, what investors are doing is they're looking at if there's earnings and potential future earnings, right? That's why guidance is very important with stocks. TV guy says, be honest, everyone, 95% crypto projects won't last or be around in the future. The world will need them. I agree and I don't agree. You know why? Because back in 2013, when I got in, you got a lot of coins that still exist today, and they haven't evolved for the last 7 years, and yet they still exist. Case in point, Dogecoin. So I don't know if 95% of projects won't be around. I think a lot of them will be around basically forever. I judge basically on how likely it is I will be able to sell a token for more. I think this is the most honest answer. I think this is 99% of the people out there. You could say, yes, I'm looking at the leadership, I'm looking at traction, I'm looking at this and that. Ultimately, what people are looking at is, can I sell it at a higher price later, right? Let's just all be honest. We're trying to make money. But I think this is what everyone's looking at. I don't think anyone has a definite metric in terms of how much a crypto project is worth. Now, here's the thing. With DeFi projects, at least, I think we do now. I think we do. So looking at this, I'll just do lending for now. But, you know, we have DEXs and derivatives. All these have some sort of locked-in value. And then there's yield farming and stuff, and it's just it gets a little crazy. But let's just look at Aave, for example, who has become the biggest lending company in the world in the crypto space, even above Maker. So recently they got some kind of money license in the UK, which really helped them, which allows them to create their own tokens. So they've got that already, and they are transitioning their Lend token into Aave tokens. But if you look at it right now, 1.5 billion collateral locked in. That's a lot. 20% dominance, like BTC dominance, they have actually a dominance. 20% dominance in the DeFi space. That is pretty substantial. 1/5 of all locked in value is on Aave right now. And they have 1.5 billion. And what are they worth right now? Well, if you look at their token price and their overall market cap, they're 83 cents, but their overall market cap is nearing 1.1 billion, which is amazing. And I've always said I didn't trust this run. It just went up too high, yet it continues to go up. But I started thinking, if there's 1.5 billion locked in and it's only worth $1 billion, is there more room to grow? So I'm thinking a new way to evaluate at least DeFi projects is by how much collateral is locked in. Now, I think the best example of this is you look at a bank, right? Bank has, or even a brokerage or some of these investment companies, a lot of times, you know, they're the balance sheet. You look at how much cash they have, you know, how much deposits they have, all this kind of stuff. It's kind of like looking at it that way. I know it's not the same as looking at profits for stocks, because if we were doing that, then we would look at, well, how much money is Aave really making with this much stake within, right? And yes, they're probably making money. And if you're looking at it that way and you're looking at $1 billion market cap, then the PE ratio is probably insanely through the roof. So I think that's probably not a good metric right now. But I think if you look at the locked in value, right? And then you look at the market cap, I think you could come up with a correlation in terms of what it's actually worth. I would make the argument that if they have at least 1.5 billion locked in, the market cap should be worth at least 1.5 billion. That it should be a 1-to-1 ratio. That's what I'm arguing. Maybe that is wrong. Maybe it should be like 0.75 or zero point 0.5. It could be something along those lines. But you got to figure with this much locked in, right? The chance of the project going under is slim to none. Basically, it can't happen unless the entire crypto market like dumps to, let's say Bitcoin dumps to 3,000 tomorrow, immediately from here. Then yes, someone like Aave and every single person that's utilizing it will get liquidated and destroyed, and that'll be an end of that. But outside of a slight chance like that, it's very unlikely for a project like Aave to be hurt. If Bitcoin goes down or Ethereum goes down or whatever goes down by a small percentage, their debt to collateral ratio will take care of things. They'll liquidate what they need to. They will continue forward. They will continue to make interest rates on whatever they lent, and they go continue forward. And Aave is doing other things too. Now they're doing non-collateralized loans, basically like what a bank is doing. And it's funny too because they were doing that when they were still known as ETHLend or ETHLend. So they were doing that already. They got away with it, and now they have that back. But I think that's a new way. And if you look at Maker, same thing. Maker used to be the biggest lending company. Now they kind of fall into number 2, obviously 1.43 billion. But if you look at Maker, they're valued at 625 million, right? And if you look at the ratio of 625 million to 1.4 billion, that ratio is smaller than, the ratio is bigger than Aave, right? So does that mean Maker is undervalued right now based on how much is locked in? You can make the case, yes, they are undervalued because of that reason, right? See, now we have some kind of, if you're looking at it this way, you have some kind of metric at least that you can measure against, okay? That's what I'm trying to get at, because what I proposed on Twitter and at the beginning with any crypto project, like how can you evaluate EOS is worth so much, or Tron is worth so much, or Chainlink or Cardano, and Cardano isn't even done? How do you value these? You can't. You're just going by what someone else is willing to pay for it. That's it. But with DeFi projects, I think we have something definitive that we can actually measure against, right? This is very early on, so I'm sure there's variations of this that could be made or added on or whatever. But I think this is a pretty good way to at least get a head start. If you're looking at DeFi projects, you're looking at how much they're worth, even though a lot of them has climbed tremendously over the last few months. But you look at how much has locked in for the last few months, it went up just as substantial. So if I could do this, this is on a 1 year chart. Wait, this is not a 1 year chart. Well, this is not updated. 30 days. Okay, so just look at 30 days, right? 30 days from end of July to now. It went from 4 billion to 7.4, almost doubled in 1 month, right? So what has these projects gone up within the last month? Some of them have pretty much doubled, right? So maybe the reason why these projects are going up so much in terms of value, in terms of price, is because this much is actually being put in. So it's an interesting thing. That's why I want to share with you guys new way of looking at things going forward. If I'm looking at DeFi projects, I'm going to start looking at this. I'm going to come up with some own metric that goes against how much is locked in versus what the token price is and what the market price is, or market cap is, because I think this is a good way to look at it. All right. I think I said enough. I'll turn to you guys for some Q&A. Hopefully my mic has been on this whole time, because it would be embarrassing if I was just on mute. Millennial Money. I think you missed the part where I talked about Peter Schiff, but he's basically asking people to donate to. He's begging people to give him some Bitcoin, basically for his son. At least, I think it's for his son. But it's just funny to hear that his son is now buying Bitcoin, and as a good dad, I guess, because he realized so many people that follow him as a Bitcoin holder, he's asking people to send his son Bitcoin, which is kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Can you look at how ADA staking works and how to make a tutorial or something? Honestly, I don't do anything with staking, right? People have always asked me, how do you stake nulls? How do you stake Cardano? How do you stake VET? How do you stake anything? I don't do anything like that because I don't stake at all. I've never staked. I only mined before, so probably not the person to ask. And you might be wondering, well, why don't you stake, right? You know, I don't know. I've always been a type that likes to have liquidity on hand, right? I always feel like I should be able to just move it or do something with it right away, even though 99.9% of the time I just don't. So don't ask me why. I just don't stake. Do you think Len will be 100 by 2021? I don't. That's pretty far fetched. But let's look at it. No, it's not gonna be 100 by end of 2021. I mean that's going up 100x. That would mean the market cap would be over $100 billion. I just don't see it. I could be wrong, Claudio. By the end of 2021, leading in 2022, Bitcoin could be at, 200, 300,000, and the whole market could be just crazy at that point. So maybe someone like Aave, they're still the leader of the DeFi space. People will be utilizing left and right. Maybe it could jump up to, I don't know, $20, $30, $50 one day, $100. I still think it's too much, but who knows? Projects like Tron, Neo, Cardano, they went from pennies, less than pennies, to where they are now. They went up tens of thousands of percent, hundreds of thousands of percent in 2017. So can something still happen like that? Sure, it can. Someone asked about OMG. I covered OMG before. I created a dedicated video. Now, OMG was basically a nobody, right? They were a scaling solution that no one really cared about until recently Tether announced that they were going to go all in on a OMG. They're going to move their entire network from Ethereum to OMG network, which is huge. Huge, okay? Why is huge? Well, look at Tether. First of all, a lot of people have been telling me to look at CoinGecko, and I brought it up. So I'm going to bring up CoinGecko because there are some discrepancies. Number one, on CoinGecko, the market cap of Tether is $13 billion. On CMC, it's still $10 billion. And I'm hearing everyone refer to Tether being $13 billion. So I think this is more realistic. So maybe in the future, I'm going to start using CoinGecko instead of CMC. Another one is Polkadot, which is another very promising protocol coin that a lot of people is talking about. They have shot up to number 6, like out of the blue, and you notice that it doesn't appear on CMC. So, yeah. So I got off topic, but looking at Tether, $33 billion worth of volume per day. That's more than Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Chainlink, and possibly Polkadot all combined. That's how much volume Tether has. And if Tether is willing to risk it and put it on OMG, that shows how robust OMG's network is. So I think because of that, that's a pretty big deal for OMG. Now, with that said, when I covered OMG, it just got done pumping to 10 and it came back down to like 6-ish. And I said, if you were to go jump in, you're taking a risk because next day it could be down to 5, or the next day it could go up to 10. So it's been going down to 5. And that's because it shot up from $1.60, $2 to $10 basically overnight. So it had to come down. Can it continue forward? I do think so. I do think because Tether is running on it, you go hear more projects, possibly DeFi projects, that will be moving off of Ethereum onto OMG, because we know DeFi is getting so hot. Most of them run on Ethereum, and with congestion, you know they're going to be looking at alternatives, right? They're not going to try, like Aave is not going to try to move their network to Polkadot or to Cosmos or to even Nulls. It's just too hard for them. But for them to move to OMG is really, really simple, which is why Ethereum is doing it, right? So I do think after this, maybe for a little bit, people want to see, projects want to see how this goes. But this is successful. If OMG's network can handle $33 billion worth of transactions of Tether per day, yeah, they can handle DeFi projects. So I think in the future, you go hear more about projects moving to OMG because of this. So I do think OMG still has more room to grow. Now, where will they fall before it starts growing? I don't know. Because of how fast it came up, they could still fall down to $4, $3. But once they get their footing, I think they're going to start turning back up again. It's pretty significant for OMG. Is it too late to get into SNX synthetic, I think? So if you look at it, their worth, or their locked-in value is 863 million, right? So where are they at right now? 651. Okay, so their ratio, if we're going by a ratio, let's just do it right now. I'll just bring up a calculator. So if you do 651 out of, what did we just say? 863. So the ratio is basically they're worth 75% of how much is locked in. If we're going by 1-to-1 ratio, then yes, you could definitely see that, right? And to be honest, I think a 1-to-1 ratio is perfectly acceptable if you're looking at it this way, 1-to-1. So should they be worth 860 million? I think so. I think that's reasonable. But if you're looking at ratio like 75% to say, I don't know, Maker, which is only worth 600 something, it's actually 625, I think. Maker is only at 626, so you do 626 divide by what, 1400, because they have 1.4. That's only a 44% ratio, right? So if you're looking at it this way, Maker is way undervalued compared to synthetic, right? See, this is why I love using these numbers, because you can actually calculate something. You could actually calculate a metric that you could actually utilize, even though it might not be 100%. But looking at this, synthetic is way overvalued versus, say, Maker. So can synthetic go up? Yes. But if this is accurate going forward, Maker should have a better time. Maker will have a more potential gains in the near run than synthetic. But we'll see. We'll see if that's true, right? We'll see if that's true. Blade Runner, appreciate it. Smash up the likes, guys. NMR recently got into Coinbase listing. I don't know. I don't even know what NMR is. Well, they jumped up big, possibly because of the Coinbase, but I have no idea who Numer is. Start with the hedge fund quality data, apply machine learning, and predict the stock market. Oh, I have heard this before. Yeah. This is basically a bot. Basically what it is. Basically a bot that takes a whole bunch of data and trades for you. I mean, that's basically what it's doing. Now, is it even concentrating on crypto? But it seems like it's actually predicting the stock market. It's not even doing crypto. Yeah. Oh, no wonder it got listed on Coinbase. It's backed by the co-founder of Coinbase, so of course it'll get added onto Coinbase. But I mean, it sounds interesting. Whether or not bots really work, they could. I don't know. I don't trust the bots for crypto for sure. But if this is a bot based on the stock market, maybe a lot more predictable. Yeah, but I'm not fascinated with it. I have no interest in it. So sorry, Alex. I bought PC hardware on Newegg yesterday with BTC. Very easy. Just scan the QR wallet. Do they use Lightning Network? I heard Newegg was one of the very first vendors that started accepting Bitcoin. We're talking about like all the way back to like 2010 or 11, like when Bitcoin first came around. I think I heard of them adopting it. Maybe I got the dates wrong, but I know they were one of the first ones to come out. And I do remember hearing that they were looking into Lightning. So could possibly, but it's good that you're supporting them because, you know, Newegg, along with everyone else, they're just getting destroyed by Amazon. Everyone's getting destroyed by Amazon these days. So good to see that you're supporting them. Want Lambo now? You know, honestly, I don't. I don't really want a Lambo anymore. I don't know. I think once you get older, some of these wants that you want as a younger guy just kind of goes away. I don't know if you guys know, I sold my Ferrari a while ago, actually like a few months ago, because it just sits there and does nothing. You know, it looks pretty, and I'll cherish the fact that I've owned a Ferrari, but I sold it. I'd rather use that money for other purposes to invest with, right? So it's one of those things. I guess it just depends on what your what what you want at the moment, I guess. Speaking of which, since you guys are all here watching me, and some of you guys like me. Remember, I had a second channel, right? Focused on Bitcoin. I called it Bitcoin George because I wanted to test out the algorithm, which I think for Cryptos R Us is still not very good because some of my videos just don't do well. Or maybe you guys just don't like seeing the videos. I can't tell, but I just think the algorithm's not good. But I decided not to do a dual Bitcoin crypto channel. It doesn't make any sense. So I renamed Bitcoin George to just my name, George Tung. And you can find it easily. The URL is just YouTube/George Tung. So I'm going to do a vlog on here because I know a lot of you guys, some of you guys like to converse with me on Q&A. You like to ask me about whatever, sports, cards, cars, you know, what's going on around the world, whatever. Some of you guys like to talk to me about that. Some of you guys hate it. I still see comments like, oh, why do you talk about this and this and this in your Q&A? No one is forcing you to watch that, okay? You could skip through it or not watch Q&A, but so I'm going to rebrand this to a new channel just focused on me. I'm just going to do a vlog of whatever's going on in my life. If you guys care, I'll talk about my time as a YouTuber, how I do my videos, what's going on in my life. Maybe I'll talk about vacations or whatever shows I'm watching or any movies or sports, whatever. I'm just going to try it, give it a shot. Just talk about my life because I know some of you guys do enjoy it, and I'll be happy to converse with you guys on my new channel so that crypto people don't get so pissed off about me talking about other things, right? So I'll pin this to my comments, very first one. Also, you can just search for it, YouTube/George Tung, and subscribe. I think I will put a video later today, just about me being a full-time YouTuber, which you don't hear a lot of people doing, right? And I really enjoy it. So if you're interested in me, follow me on my new channel. All right, let's bring up Bitcoin. Cybertruck beat an I-11. I just, again, I'm going off topic, but I drove my friend's Model S, which was insanely fast. I drove a Model Y yesterday, which I'm going to do a review tomorrow. But yeah, Teslas with every generation, they're getting better and better and better. Yes, they've always been fast. The technology is good, but like quality, comfort, noise level, we're always like lackluster. But after reviewing a Tesla Model Y, I do think that it's a pretty darn good SUV. There are a few body gap issues on the outside, but you have to really look for it. But outside of that, it's a really good SUV. So Teslas get better and better. I can't wait until the Cybertruck because I think the quality of that is going to be really up there. Besides the really outrageous look, right? I would get a Cybertruck if it comes out. Link is pumping. Is it pumping again? Not really. It's hovering here. But, you know, I got into arguments with some people, and I shouldn't get into arguments. I don't know why I care, but you have people on Twitter. This is why I hate conversing on Twitter sometimes. It is so toxic. There are haters of, say, Chainlink because they never got in. They missed out on the run, right? So rather than just be gracious about it, they want to bring it down. So when Chainlink was going up, and I was talking about Chainlink a lot, I talked about it. I think my first video recently was like when it was $9, but I talked about Chainlink when it was like a few dollars before. But recently when I was talking about it, I was saying, you know, I think it's going to go higher. I think it's necessary. It's the only Oracle play in town. So why would it not be necessary? But then there's like guys like, oh, I told you not to FOMO in and this and that. Oh, it's going to come down. Did it really? It's still at $15. Sure, it goes up and down a little bit. But $15, it's still what, number 5? Yeah, number 5 on CMC. So what are you guys complaining about? If you missed a boat, okay, then I'm sorry. But there's plenty of other altcoins that have huge potential. And plus the fact that I don't think Link's potential is over. I think there's plenty of it. But you know, when it has a run up like this, it's going to need to take a breather, especially since it's already worth over $5 billion. But, you know, that's why I hate conversing on Twitter sometimes. You always have these haters that just like, they just try to bring you down and bring everyone else down when, in fact, they're just miserable about their choices. So, yeah, it kind of sucks. But anyways, Chainlink, the only Oracle player in town. Yes, there's competition that's coming, but they're the only player in town. And every single DeFi project need a dependable and robust and secure Oracle system for their price feeds. It's very, very important for DeFi lenders. And guess what? They're all utilizing Chainlink at this point. Are Ferrari parts reasonably priced? Yes and no. Depends on if it's a common part or not. Like on my 360, I had to replace a mass air sensor, which is very common for cars in the 90s and early 2000s. So on a 360, there's 2. And I got my first one replaced at a Ferrari dealership. And I think they charged me $1,000 because I couldn't get the part myself. So I think it was like they charged $400 for the mass air sensor and $600 for labor. Then I'm like, screw that. That's way too expensive. And I realized I could have gotten the same part, not labeled Ferrari. It was the same exact mass air sensor being labeled under a different part number, which only cost $150. And I did the installation myself. So rather than pay $1,000, I paid $150. So it really depends on if it's a common part or not. Now, if a header breaks or air intake cracks and you need to replace that, you're not going to find a common part and it's going to be expensive. But if it's a common part, spark plugs, whatever, O2 sensors, brake pads, you could do those yourself and it's relatively inexpensive. Not as inexpensive as a Honda Civic part, but compared to a Lexus or BMW, it's about the same. What do you think about BAT? BAT has been really, really, really non-moving, and I'm surprised because it's still one of the only projects with a working product. But they really haven't been moving. You know, they've been so stagnant for a long time, many, many months. They jumped up a little bit, but now you can see they just came back down. They kind of lost their momentum. So I've read articles about basically people using Brave browser. They're not really utilizing BAT tokens. And people who get rewarded with BAT immediately go on Uphold and change it out for cash. So I think that's the problem, is lack of use of BAT. And also people who get it just sell it immediately for cash or Bitcoin or something. So that's the only thing. I still think it's a great project. I think the Brave browser is great. I'm, in fact, using a Brave browser right now. But, you know, we'll have to see. Chainlink, Band, or Polkadot, which one do you like the best? They're all good, but, you know, how do you value them, right? Band, is a play on Chainlink. You know, although Ban is promising, there's a lot of good things going for Ban, but ultimately you buy Ban because it's basically the second best Chainlink, right? And you figure if the Chainlink is going to go up that much, the second best Ban should follow it, and it was for a while. It's taking a breather now, but it went up like 1,500% within a month, so it's bound to take a breather. But I said the same thing. Ban is a play on Chainlink, so I think it's a good hold. Obviously, it's going to be more volatile because it's smaller. Chainlink is there. Polkadot, I'm not so sure of. I mean, according to CoinGecko, it jumped up to number 6 already, right? It's worth 5.6 billion if that's accurate. So, I don't know. Like, where can it go from here? Is it go really double to 10 billion, 11 billion, possibly go to 12 billion to XRP? It could, but I don't hear that much on Polkadot. Only recently I've been hearing a lot more people talk about it, but as a protocol, I haven't heard anything really about it. So can't say much about Polkadot at this point, but I think Chainlink is here to stay. I think Ban is a good play. Polkadot, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good play, but I don't know about the potential from here. Every Pepsi has a Coke. Yeah, everything has like a counterpart. Like Uber has Lyft, right? Everything you can think of, there's a counterpart to it. So, and Chainlink right now does not, unless Ban really starts going up in a big way. I just don't like the interface of CoinGecko. It's the same. It's the same. Let's do a night mode. I mean, you look at this compared to this, it's just CMC is bigger. I mean, they put the market cap on over here and stuff, but, you know, I think it's about the same. It's just the font is a little bit smaller. I don't know. I might start using CoinGecko from now on because it seems to be more accurate. Like, it also bothers me that, you know, Tether's at 13 billion on CoinGecko and 10 billion still on CMC. Like, that's a big discrepancy, right? That's like 30%. So I don't know why that is. I don't know if there's any other discrepancy, like other projects that's on CoinGecko but not on CMC. CMC is owned by Binance, so yeah. Roger, I don't agree with that because there's so many other protocols out there. So maybe some will get pumped due to enthusiasm, but you know, when ETH came out or Ethereum came out, it was the only one of its kind, the only network that supported smart contracts. Now there's many protocols that support smart contracts. So I don't think it's gonna be the same thing. Tezos is a solid project. It is. Man, there's more people tuning in now. So I think people are probably on their lunch break. Maybe I should push back my live session on Friday to 11:30 instead of 10:30 instead, because I think a lot of people are getting off for lunch right now. Loved your Chainlink video a couple weeks ago. Thank you. You know, I basically call it like how I see it, right? Some people call me out and say, you know, you're shilling or you change your tune so fast. But, you know, a couple things have really struck with me recently, right? DeFi overall, if you guys didn't watch what I said earlier in this video, you should rewind. I think DeFi, although there's risk, is really good for the whole ecosystem in many different ways. And Chainlink, I'm still very bullish on Chainlink because, you know, before DeFi projects came out, Chainlink was providing oracles, right? But the problem was there's no real dApps that utilize it. But now you do have a set of dApps that's highly used, and they're all dependent on Chainlink. So they definitely are being used. There's a really good use case for Chainlink. Also, if you think about it, if you guys do think DeFi is a bubble and it's just going to go away and it pops and it disappears, Chainlink is fine because there's many other projects, including Polkadot that you guys are talking about, including Tezos that you guys are talking about. They're utilizing oracles from Chainlink. And same thing with many other projects out there. There's DEXs, there's exchanges, there's just all over the place. So Chainlink is fine. They're fine. Even without DeFi, they'll be fine. But with DeFi, definitely pushes them up a lot, because as DeFi grows, as this number keeps growing, I bet if I refresh this is gonna be a higher number. See there. I started the stream at 7.35 billion, and then I refreshed 7.4 billion, and now it has jumped up another, what is that, 50? This is billion, 100, that's another $50 million that just went in to DeFi as I streamed within the last hour, right? Kind of shows you how many people are using DeFi at this point, right? So yeah, I think this is a good thing overall. I think the new metric in terms of how you evaluate a DeFi project is interesting. It's not set in stone, but if you're looking at a metric that you can measure, okay? Unlike, you know, EOS, Tron, Neo, VET, whatever, you could say they have a ton of partnerships. You could say they have a ton of usage, a ton of users, a ton of adoption. It's been around for a long time. But how do you actually measure if that's worth $100 million or $1 billion or $5 billion? It's really hard. But for DeFi projects, I think we have a baseline. If we measure against the locked-in value, I think that's a really good metric to go by and start building upon that. So I think that's quite interesting. All right. I think that's pretty much it. You know what? Seeing how more people tuned in starting from 11:30, maybe next week I'll change it to 11:30 instead of 10:30 to more align with lunch times. I don't know. But I figure a lot of you guys are working at home that you could just take your lunch whenever. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe a lot of you guys did go back to work. So it 11:30 works out a little bit better. I don't know. But overall, hopefully you guys enjoy this stream. I think I gave some good information, if I do say so myself. So hopefully you guys like it. Smash up the likes. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And also, I mentioned, in case you guys missed it, if you guys want to hear more about me, my life outside of just crypto, right? If you want to know what's going on, I'm starting a vlog channel. I just called it my name, George Tung. I renamed the Bitcoin George one that I was experimenting. I told you guys I was experimenting. I'm not going to do crypto on there anymore. Just go do one about my life and just talk about whatever, right? A lot of you guys like to talk about a lot of topics. If you do want to converse with me, you want to chime in, whatever, talk to me on my other channel, George Tung, and we'll have a good time there. All right, so subscribe there. All right, guys, that is pretty much it. Make sure you rewatch this. If you're tuning this late, rewatch it. This is a good one. You don't want to miss this video. Trust me, you don't want to miss this video. Rewind when I end this stream. Take care, guys, and have a good one. Have a good weekend, and we'll see what happens with Bitcoin. I do expect Bitcoin is going to go do more of the same this weekend, go sideways, but when it's ready, it's going to do this, and we could see Bitcoin at 12, 13, 14, possibly as high as 15,000 within this next leg up. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.